Kiana with First 30 Seconds, and as promised last week, we did an intro to someone who has way more experience than me, who has been not just a friend and a mentor, but also my personal trainer. So we have today with us Lewis Taylor. Thanks for joining us today. Hi. So we're going to pick his brain because, as I mentioned last week, when we're going into the season of winter and holiday season, we really tend to get off balance with our eating and our routines. So we're going to ask a million questions, not literally a million, but some questions that as you, the viewers, you would be interested in hearing and how we can really navigate through the season. So we will get started. So, Lewis, first question, just so that we kind of establish a history. What's your history with personal training? What exposure have you had or education with that?
Gotcha. Great. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I have several personal trainer certifications. I even started when I was in the military, where I was a master fitness trainer. So it's all about passion for me in doing this and just helping people make a lifestyle change. So I think I've probably worked with hundreds of people in the course of my tenure doing this.
That's awesome. So you mentioned a very good transitional word, and that was passion. So what started the passion for doing this, for helping people? Why do you look the way you do and keep the cadence you do for personal fitness? What developed it?
Wow. Sometimes you like what you like, and I know that's a cop-out answer, but it all started with me from high school, military, some college, and then just evolving from there, right? But then it became a passion for me. I have an outside job that pays the bills too, but this is truly my passion, right? It allows me to work with folks on a one-on-one basis, help them evolve and change their life. Kind of like you do branding. Well, what I want to do is change the way they think about fitness and how it works in their life today.
Wow. So I have to say it's not the perfect answer because that's your information and your history, but it's the perfect answer in the sense that you helped me, so it's a journey. I went through it's still a journey. I'm not done. You make your little comments about I'm not in maintenance mode yet. I get it. So it's a long journey and it's progressive. But you're influential and you're motivating because it's allowed me to develop a passion. So when you have a great trainer who's knowledgeable and has a real passion for it, then what happens is you influence and infect other people to have the same passion. So much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm working with folks, my view is I'm working with an individual person. I don't see it as a business. I see it as let me help you make lifestyle changes so that you can live your life and continue on. If you're working with any trainer and their objective isn't to get you to be on your own with a program, then you probably should change to a trainer that will do that.
Okay. So I love that, and keep that coming because we are very interested in that. How you choose a personal trainer is important, and not just choosing, but keywords like if they're not interested in getting you to where you can maintain it on your own, then you probably should reevaluate who you chose as a trainer.
Yeah.
So that's great information for viewers, for us to kind of absorb and keep top of mind.
Absolutely.
So last week I was complaining about winter, about it being cool, or winter. I'm from Nebraska, so this is not real winter, but I hate anything cool. What's one of the things that you would say would help people navigate? It's getting cool, the season, holidays are coming up where there's traveling, you're off your regular schedule for how you eat, or maybe you're not and you need to be on one. Right? And then there's also family coming in town, so you're making big family dinners, you're making all this great food. I'm starting to get hungry right now. How do you navigate? Like, how do you motivate yourself to stay kind of in step and yet still enjoy? Right, still enjoy the family and the time of the season.
So the key thing here for me and what I recommend to folks is the holiday season is about family. So make fitness about family. So coordinate, integrate your schedules. If you have family coming into town, set the expectation up front that I'm going to go for a run in the morning, or I'm going to go for a bike ride, or during this block of time, I'm going to run over to the gym. And then also after all of these big meals, if you really want to make it about family time, instead of sitting in front of the TV, why don't you, all family, let's just get out and go take a walk. And that allow us to have a conversation. It'll allow us to walk off dinner somewhat, but it'll give us somewhat of a brief kind of moment where we're stretching, we're exercising, we're loosening ourselves up, and we're just not sitting. And then maybe that'll become contagious throughout the family. Now, as for addressing the winter part, we all tend to do what we call, or have what we call that winter weight.
I think I'm getting mine right now.
So I try to base that on a couple of things. I would rather take my lunch breaks and go work out, or just go for a walk or go for a run, if that's possible. We know it's colder in the morning, it's dark in the morning, it's cold in the evening, it's dark in the evening. But get yourself a headlamp. For me, it's my dog, Casper, right? So we go for walks, we go for runs in the evening, even if I have to dress her up in her lights and I wear my headlamp.
This dog is bougie, by the way. Just saying.
But make it about no sacrifice is too far out when it comes to fitness. Ultimately, you have to say, I have to, one, educate myself on it, be my own tutor, right? It is important to have a trainer, I think, but your trainer should really care about what you're doing, not just about the 45 minutes to the hour segment that you do in the gym. When I work with folks, and you know this, I require you to keep a journal. We take 10 minutes and we talk about what you ate for the week, how's your diet going, things like that, right? So make sure it's all encompassing, and they don't have to be a dietitian to be able to talk about the caloric intake, what you're eating, what's good, what's not, and balancing that. And hopefully I covered all of that.
Yeah.
Ultimately though, we have to, if you get on a program and you get on a regimen, summer, winter, fall, it's so easy to stick with it once you get on a program.
Okay. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because we talk about the season and that it's cool in the winter and how we can get off balance, but really everything he's saying can be applied all the time. So year round. And really, if you start getting in the habit of doing that, it really won't matter that it's winter. I get a little lazier, but it really doesn't matter once you do that. And you have a passion for it. You start seeing the changes. Like, I got way more vested when I started seeing changes. You had to work with me on that because I was impatient. I'm still impatient, right?
Yeah.
But when you start seeing the rewards, which you do have to have patience, because if you're doing it right, it doesn't come off overnight. You don't change overnight. Then you're motivated to keep going, and you develop a passion, as you said, being your own tutor, kind of telling yourself what you need to do, where you need to stick, and what you can or cannot have, or how to balance that will help you develop your own passion and maintenance. But that kind of takes us to you talk about caloric intake. So because it is the season, right, and you're making these family dishes, are there any side dishes or even main dishes, whatever your idea you might want to throw out, that you can replace? Not that we're going to replace everything, but maybe an idea or two of an item we can replace that's going to be less caloric heavy.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first recommendation is steamed, right?
Ooh,
baked,
which is good for you,
right? Cut back on fries as much as, fry things as much as possible, and then think about what you're actually putting in the dishes. Do you have to have that heavy cream? Do you have to have whole milk? Does it require butter, or can you use some other substitute? I mean, there are tons of things out there that are just as good and make the food just as flavorful. And believe it or not, if you don't tell your family, they don't know.
Absolutely. My family might know. But I get it.
But make healthy substitutions. I don't even have butter in my house. Now, look, I know that may be unreasonable to ask. I don't have whole milk in my house, right? That also may be unreasonable. But there are so many substitutes for those types of things that reduce the caloric. And I'll give an example of, we're from the South, so we love candied yams, for example, right? Well, and instead of making the traditional Southern candied yams, go buy a few small whole sweet potatoes, right? We're gonna leave the skin on, partially boil them, and then finish them in the oven. Slice them open, and take just a little bit, a drizzle of honey, just a drizzle of honey, and stir that around within the skin of the potato, and it tastes just as good as if you had made candy yams.
I'm going to try that too.
And that's just an example.
Right.
And then as you're making your plate, think about it this way. The larger the plate, the more you want to fill it up. So I know you want to set out that amazing plate setting, right? Well, instead of taking the larger plate, if you're really trying to stay healthy and keep your diet in line, get the smaller plate.
Like the saucer, basically.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And start with your proteins. So put your proteins on the plate first, and as you can see, there's not going to be much room left. Then go to your veggies, right? And if you do your protein, your veggies first on that smaller plate, that leaves very little room for carbs. And then limit yourself to say, I am going to eat this small plate, and if I'm still hungry later, a couple hours later, I'll make that a part of my meal, and I'll go back and get another small plate, kind of building it out the same way. And you've spaced that out, and hopefully you kind of got the whole family out there to take a walk with you, so you can go enjoy it and walk it out.
Okay.
But that's a good way to kind of portion yourself. Start with a smaller plate versus the larger plate.
Okay. So it's interesting as he's reminding me, because I've been I've been over consuming just a little bit. So it's sometimes you find yourself kind of floating away from your regimen, and you have to get yourself back in. So those are great reminders.
Yeah, absolutely. And to reel yourself back in, put notes on the refrigerator, sticky notes.
Like,
set reminders on your phone.
Be
right.
X pounds, or stay within, or
like,
you're not hungry, you don't need to eat.
Yeah. I've told people, like, put a note on the fridge that says, dude, really? Or, do you really want to do this?
I'm going to do that.
Right?
Really.
Or, that piece of pie is going to cost me an hour on the treadmill. If you just, I use the little whiteboards that I stick on the refrigerator. Great note to put there, right? And it just kind of, it refreshes in your mind, if I ate that pie, how much I'm going to have to work just to get that off, right? And then additional hard work to continue to make progress.
Okay, that's a good reminder. And it's right there. It's right in your face. So the visibility of the reminder is important, not just in here. A lot of people need visible reminders.
Absolutely. And remember, if we keep a journal, right, and we have to keep ourselves honest, if we have to log that pie and we want to go back for 2 or 3 slices later, right, and we have to actually write it down, it might make the difference.
That's true. You mentioned another thing. You said, like, when you do the small plate, starting with protein, veggies, etc. And then you said if you're hungry, maybe a couple hours later. So that brings us to, how often do you eat then? Okay.
So I'm a guy, I graze all day long. And I recommend that clients kind of eat 4 to 6 small portion meals a day, based on their caloric requirements. And we sit down and we talk a little bit about that as we're going into the session. So what I like to offer clients is not just the physical part in the gym or the physical part out doing CrossFit, but more around the diet itself. So I can get you to change your physical habits, but if I don't get you to change what you're eating, that progress that we want to get to isn't going to happen.
And I've had many of those reminders.
Absolutely. So I recommend folks to sometimes set their phone every 2-hour blocks.
Okay.
Right? And that little reminder goes off, and you know, okay, I can have a protein bar. And then you start looking forward to those little 2-hour reminders, and then your body kind of adjusts to that, and you notice, like, every 2-3 hours, I'm starving, right? And you take that in, and you're comfortable and then right around that same time, your clock starts to adjust automatically itself, right? But think of things that keep you full, right? Like apples, and, celery, peanut butter in small content and small quantity, right? But things that'll hold you over when you have to have a snack. If you eat a candy bar, the chances are you ate that candy bar and it satisfied your craving, it satisfied your hungry right then. But guess what? You had that huge sugar spike, and what's going to happen is your body's going to eventually want more of that sugar. So an hour
No,
later,
that doesn't happen.
and an hour later, you're going to want the same thing again. Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. So just kind of balance it out. And there are tons of great protein bars, protein cookies, protein shakes out there now that you can use for on the go, so that you don't have to have it. And if you're really trying to stick to your diet over the holidays, go get yourself some of the small protein shakes, and right before dinner, have that small protein shake and some water.
Okay.
Now you filled up your stomach, you've mostly killed that craving that you really want. So the food isn't going to kind of overwhelm you with this, oh man, it smells so good and I just got to have everything.
Yeah.
Because you have that protein that is kind of pushed down that craving a little bit.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
And then if you go with that smaller plate, you'll absolutely be fine. But remember, make it a family thing. Go out, take the family out, let's go walk together.
Okay. So that is like, man, so all those are great, like direction, advice, and tidbits of information. So there's a lot more I want to ask, but we're not going to ask everything today because your information, your intellectual property is valuable. So what we're going to do is we'd love to be able to have you back on, kind of do a series, and then maybe do some more Q&A as people have transitioned even out of the season into other things.
Yeah.
And then his time is limited, so y'all may not get in, but maybe one day that'll be a possibility. So thank you so much for joining.
Absolutely. And viewers, force her to let me record a workout session or a training session with her in the gym. That would be awesome.
Actually, that would be awesome. So we're looking forward to that. So make sure you subscribe, and if you like it, make sure you like this video as well so that you can be notified when there's upcoming videos that are coming soon. Thanks so much for joining us, and goodbye.